So through this G7, you said there's something you're calling the Trump perfect storm. Do you want to go into?
Yeah, so here's what I think, guys, because everybody talks about how it's so hard to beat an incumbent. You're hard on this. You say it all the time. It's hard to beat an incumbent, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think to beat Trump, it takes a perfect storm. But what I'm saying, much like the hurricane off our coast, I think the perfect storm is a brewing. And let me give you some notes on that. Okay, so he's being primaried by a Republican, Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh, kind of a questionable character, and we can get into him. But to be a sitting president that's being primaried by your party, and there may be more people to enter the primary process, is definitely not good. He's losing the trade war to China. So he backed down on more tariffs that he was going to put on China, and then China responded with $75 billion in tariffs. They didn't back down at all. And so now he's kind of reeling, and it seems like that he's afraid to have this trade war go into the Christmas holiday season or into the re-election season, so that's not good from him. We've had mass shootings in El Paso, Dayton, Ohio, the Gilroy Festival, everywhere. Last time, he lost the popular vote. The election team that he had last time is either locked up or resigned, right? And there's been a huge social media crackdown on the bots and trolls that has basically neutered all these fake accounts out of the system. And then he also has Scaramucci that's been attacking him and an economy that's due for a downturn. So it just seems to me every dog has his day. And I guess my question is Trump's day finally coming?
Well, you guys better hope so, because every stop's been pulled out. You got hopes of a recession. Speaking of Bill Maher, again in this episode, he has openly talked about that he hoped the country goes into a recession if that can help get Trump out of office. He does not care what that does to working people or what have you, what the repercussions of that are. But that seems to be the Machiavellian endgame here. Scaramucci's an interesting point. You got a flip-flop guy who was, I think he was in Trump's cabinet for 11 days. Trump's going on record saying he doesn't really know him at all. I don't believe that.
They definitely know each other.
Yeah. Scaramucci is a woman's scorn. He seems pretty upset with how things have gone. The Democrats seem to love him. Why do they hate him so much, and now they traipse him out and they love it?
Well, Scaramucci is a media darling. He gets a lot of media play. And I think some of the reason that he gets media play is I think he's in deep with CNN because he's like kind of by there. So I think he knows like Chris Cuomo. He's about the age of all those people like John Berman and all those people that are on CNN. So I think he runs in their circles. And then also, once you get a job in a White House, even as short as his term was, which was very short as a press secretary, you can get on a lot of TV. That's a lot of credibility working in the White House, especially in a position like he had. So he's got a lot of TV going. The war between him and Trump, I think he definitely comes off, as you said, as a woman scorned. I mean, when you fire somebody and then they attack you, it's like, But the media has latched onto it because there's so few Republicans that are willing to attack Trump that when once somebody finally does kind of jump ship, they do the full media circuit.
And speaking of another traitor, tell us about this Joe Walsh. Why does this guy think he can primary and win?
I don't think that Joe Walsh thinks he can win. I was researching Joe Walsh because I didn't know much about him. He has some racist tweets in the past, stuff like that. He's a Tea Party guy. He's from Chicago, but he's also an anti-Obama guy, which is interesting because Obama's a big Chicago guy. He lost an election in 96. He lost one in 98. He was a big Obama critic, like in just like sharing like all the crazy tweets about him, you know, from like birtherism to all the other stuff.
Yep.
And I think that when he was in Congress, because he was in Congress for a little while, he won a seat somewhere, and then there was like, I remember like a flurry of ethics violations, and he was like probably going to get in trouble, but then he lost to Tammy Duckworth, and he kind of like bounced out, and then he started this radio show where he's had this right-wing radio show where a lot of these crazy tweets have really come out of, but the minute he declared that he was going to primary Trump, the right-wing radio show fired him. So now he's got nothing.
Interesting, yeah. Radio guy, big Tea Party advocate. Served one term in Congress from 2011, 2013. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to make much headway, but
I think the idea is that for primarying Trump, I think that it's twofold for the Republicans. If Trump is to lose, right, then when they primaried him, they're like, see, well, we were a Republican Party that has many different sides to us. Trump having to lose, we still have these other characters at play. And so I think that part of it is a fear thing. They don't want to put out just Trump because he's so volatile right now. He's either going to win or lose in a landslide. And if he happens to lose in a landslide, they would be protected by having these other primary characters out of there. And then I heard a more advanced theory, which was if they could get 2 or 3 primary guys against him and they could drop his rating down to like 20%, that Trump might just say, well, I'm not the kind of guy that loses, and just step out and then let a regular Republican run. But any of these things seem so highly unlikely that, I mean, I could never see incumbent losing a primary, not in a million years.
It's not going to happen. But maybe this guy will chink away at the armor, because having a Republican be able to just straight go through with no problems is one thing. Or
and a guy who apparently is not afraid to send crazy tweets. So I could see Trump and this guy are going to head off in Twitter
This
war
guy
at
could get
some
mouthy.
point. At some point.
Yeah.